Hello, it's Julie from Spellbound, and today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely little vine style necklace. Now we've got some simple beads at the front on a wired frame, really easy to make, and then to make it comfortable to wear all the way around the back of the neck, we're going to be making a simple beaded strap. Now I've taken a lot of my beads from just a bead mix. This is 185 candy flower mix, but you don't have to use flowers, you could use all sorts of different beads. I just really like this sherbety colour palette. I hope you'll join me. It's a really easy technique to use, and I think you will use it again and again and again. I've been through the candy flower selection and I've taken out 3 pink flowers and 3 little yellow rounds. These are about 5mm. I think they work well with this sort of sherbet pale colour scheme I'm going for. I've also taken a slightly larger bead because I think that will do for the clasp. I'm going to do a button and loop clasp or a bead and loop clasp. Now to team with these, I've got some beads from my other supplies. I've got some turquoise leaves. Now I've gone for opaque because that matches in with what we're using here, and it goes with this sort of sherbet 1950s colour scheme. Now these beads have a hole across the top, and these are top hole leaf beads, so the hole goes across that way so the leaf itself will dangle down. And I've got some seed beads. These are size 8 seed beads, and they're in this lovely very pale lavender chalk colour. Now to hold the front of the necklace together, I have some wire. This is 0.5mm wire, and it's in a champagne colour, which is this very pale gold. Now I've got all my materials together, I'm going to start the weave. I've used a scrap of wire to give you an idea of the overall shape at the centre of the necklace. As you can see, it's a bit like a capital Y. We're going to have a short stem coming downwards at the centre front, and then slightly longer stems going to the left and the right to join up with the side straps. These 2 side stamens are going to need to have a loop at each end so we can join on to those side straps. Now we're going to start in the centre of the wire, and the centre of the wire is going to be this position here, right at the bottom of the large Y. We will then come up to the centre, and one side of the wire will form this branch and the other side of the wire will form this branch. So to start with, I need to decide what bead I would like at the bottom of my design. So this position here, I'm going to use a leaf. I'll pop that aside for the moment and bring in the wire I'm going to be using for the whole of the front of the necklace. Now I've cut myself about 1.5 meters, and this is the 0.5mm soft champagne wire, and I'm going to put 1 leaf bead right into the middle of the wire. So that's right at the centre, and I've got the 2 cut ends together. Now to make a stamen twist, you need to control the rest of the wire out of the way and just concentrate on this small area here. I want to make a shortish stamen about 1 centimetre long, so I'm going to pinch the 2 sides of the wire together about that centimetre distance from my leaf, and I'm going to start to turn the leaf over. Now you can see the twist is starting to form, and the pinch is preventing the twist from going further. Now as I twist, I'm slightly pulling this hand away from this hand, because that little bit of tension will help your twist to form more neatly. Now I've twisted about 5 times and that's starting to feel stiff, and the twist has come to the point where I want it to be. I don't want to twist further because the wire can become brittle and break. So I'm going to separate out the 2 sides of the wire, and you can see we've got our first stamen. Now, the next stamen I'd like to make, slightly to the side, is going to have 3 size 8 seed beads on, just to make a little cluster. So I've taken the longest side of the wire, although they should both be the same length at the moment, and I'm threading on 3 seed beads. Bring those down to the front, and I need to decide how long I would like this side branch to be. I'd like it to be about that long, so I'm going to make a loop out of the same side of the wire, so it's all out of that side, to come back to meet the top of that twist. So I'm going to bring it round to meet the top of the previous stamen. I'm going to pinch there quite firmly, and I'm going to position those seed beads at the end of the loop, and then I'm going to twist. As you can see, the loop's getting smaller and smaller to trap the seed beads, and the twist has come all the way up to that junction. That's really important because that means that all of this wire here is twisted. There isn't any untwisted wire, which will feel less stiff and it will definitely be more vulnerable to break. Now I'd like to make a little bit of length before I put in my next side stamen. So I'm going to pinch the 2 sides of the wire together and twist for a short distance. And you can see I now have 2 little stamens and a little bit of, we're going to call this trunk, a little bit of trunk between, holding the 2 branches together. Now I'm going to introduce one of my yellow beads. I look at the end of the wire and see which end is longest. It's this end, so that's the one I'm going to use for my yellow stamen. Thread my bead on, make a loop with the yellow bead at the end of the loop just as before, pinch at the top of the twist, or where I'd like the twist to be, and twist to the pinch. There you can see we've now got 3 stamens. I want to make a little bit more trunk, so I'm going to pinch and twist. That's the 2 sides of the wire being twisted together. And if I separate out, you can see it's starting to grow. Now I want to know which is the longest end again, which is that one. And I'm going to introduce a leaf. I want my leaf to be on that side. I'll just move the wire to the position I want it to be. Make my loop. There's the leaf on the right size stem for what I want for my design. I'm going to pinch at the top of the existing twisted bit of trunk and twist to the pinch. Now this is going to be approximately the position for the centre of my necklace. So I don't actually want to make any more trunk at the moment, but I'd quite like to make another stamen on this side. So as you can see, I've got both ends of the wire actually pretty close to the same length, so I'll just choose one of them and add a seed bead stamen. There we go. Make my loop, bring it back to the end of the trunk where I put my pinch and twist to the pinch. There we are. So that's going to be the bottom of the Y. So it's going to be that section there. I now need to think about making these two pieces. Now I've got two wire ends of approximately the same length. One's slightly longer than the other now, but it's not tremendously important. What I need to make sure is that I now decide how long I want this piece and this piece to be. Now I want to be able to fit in 3 pink flower beads, one in the centre and one to either side, and I want some extra stamens as well. So I think I want this side of the necklace to finish about here, certainly the decoration to finish about this point. So I'm going to bend this side of the wire over to make a loop at that distance, and I'm just going to pinch right at the bottom of the loop and make a twist, and that sets the length of that side of the design. Now while I've got that with no beads on, I'm going to match it up with the other side of the wire, make a matching loop, same length on the other side of the wire. It's a little bit over long at the moment, so I'll just bring it in a tiny bit. That's it. And pinch and twist. And if I move that over that side, you can see I've got one side of the wire going that way, one side going that way, and I've set the length of the Y for both sides of the design. Right, now I can start thinking about adding some beads. I'm going to leave this side for the moment and just concentrate on this side. I think I'd like another couple of twists before I add anything in. I'm going to start with 3 seed beads. And a slightly shorter stem than I've been making before, because this is to the side of the design. And there's my first little stem. Now I need to start to come back towards the centre. Now this is the straight wire that came from the top of here and up and made the loop. So I need to now twist my wire end along here slightly, joining this side of the wire to this side of the wire. I'm going to pinch and twist, and that's made a little bit of trunk. Right, let's add perhaps a lemon coloured bead. On a little stem, so on a little loop, bring the 2 sides of the wire together at the bottom and twist. So you can see we're coming now in towards that centre front position. So I need to make a bit more trunk, so the end of the wire parallel to this straight bit of the wire, pinch and twist. Right, now I think it's probably time for a leaf. So let's just get that to the right side of the display and add in our leaf, just the same as before. Make a loop, decide how long you want it to be, and it's getting slightly longer because I'm getting slightly closer to the centre of the design. Pinch down here, and there we go. Now I need to have a little check at this point. I'm going to have one flower in the centre, and I'd like to have one flower approximately where I am at the moment. So I need to start thinking about joining this flower in. Now, to help to support the flower, I'm going to add another leaf underneath. So I've got 2 leaf arms to support the flower, or to help to support the flower. So the same position on the trunk, on this trunk. I'm going to add in another leaf to the other side of the design. You don't have to do this, but I think it helps visually with the leaf top and bottom of the flower we're going to add in. Just to make sure everything's nice and firm, I'm going to put 1 twist onto the trunk. Now let's add in our flower. Now these flowers are threaded side to side, so I need to allow enough wire to come behind the flower and behind the flower. You see it's on a little V shape of wire, and the loose end of the wire is coming back to the main trunk. I'm going to pinch there and twist. I need to put this flower on a short stem, but make sure it is twisted, because then it stands a little proud, and we can also adjust the final position if it's on its own little twist. If I turn that over, you can see there's a little twist for the flower, and it's independent of the main trunk. Now I'm going to make a little bit more trunk. And let's sort my hands out. I think perhaps a little spray of seed beads. So same again, a little loop. You can see we're getting closer to the centre now. Need to leave enough space for that. That's going to go in the middle. I think another leaf is in order, and perhaps another little bit of yellow. So I'm going to make a tiny bit of trunk. I'm going to add a leaf to this top edge. Make my loop, put the leaf on, make the twist, a tiny bit more trunk, and a yellow bead. Now, as I'm picking up this yellow bead, that means I'm going to have to go back to my bead selection, have a little rummage round, see if I can find another yellow bead for this side of the design. Let's have a look how we're progressing. If I pop that in the middle, I think you can see the design's coming on quite well. I'm going to bring this all the way down. So this is my end I've been working with in a late parallel. So I come up to the top of the initial branch. So I've come all the way down. This is my original plan. We made this one first. I've come back along here, and there's just a tiny bit here that isn't twisted. That's that little bit there. I'm going to make sure that's twisted to hold everything firm. So I've now got 2 branches. I've got the bottom and I've got the one to this side. So I've done this one and this one. I'm now going to replicate what I've done here, not necessarily symmetrical, but a similar arrangement coming down here. and I'll be back to show you how to finish off the centre of the necklace. I've completed the twist coming all the way back to the centre on this side as well. So now we have the centre dangle here on our original plan. That's the centre point, so this is the arm out to one side, which is this one here, with the loop on the end. There's the centre point again, that's the arm out to this side, which is this part of the plan here. So both wire ends have gone out, made the loop at the end, and come back in again towards the centre point. And that's what you can see here. We've got the two wire ends come back into the centre with everything twisted all the way along both side arms. Now I did what I said, and I went back to my mix of beads, and I managed to find two more of those lemon coloured beads, which I think work well, but equally there was some green in there, and there was some other little bits and pieces I could have used instead. But as it was, fortuitously I've got two more yellow ones, and I think that sets off my centre flower very nicely. So in a second I'm going to attach that, but I think there's going to be a gap at the top here, and I think before I do anything I'd like to add one more of my little seed bead stamens. So I've got both wire ends back to the centre, but this end is the longest, so that's the end I'm going to use. I'm just going to put on one little extra stamen in the centre. There we go, let's just check that. Yes, I think that balance is a little bit better now. Now let's have a look at which end is the longest. They're very similar in length. So that's the one that's just made that stamen. That's the one that's made this stamen, which is the last one on this side. At the moment they're both a little bit free, so I'm actually going to wrap that one around the centre and that one around the centre, just to make sure. That's it, they're much better anchored now. Let's see which one is the longest. It's this one. So let's pop our centre bead on. Let's make that little V-shaped support. You can see there, that's the wire coming from the filigree through the bead and back to the filigree. I'm going to pinch it right against the centre of the filigree and twist. It doesn't matter if everything else bends out of shape at the moment. Oops, that's slipped, as you can see. That's better. Readjust. There we go. Now the beautiful thing about wire is it's completely flexible, so you can just bend everything back to where you want it to be. Okay, so let's have a little look. Take those pieces of wire away so we can see exactly what we've got. I actually think there's enough there. I don't need to add anything else. So I now just have to finish off these wire ends. Now I need to finish them away from this back surface because this is where your skin is going to be. So I'm going to bring them up to the front one at a time, and I'm going to wrap them around the twist that's holding on this centre flower. Just the once, because that will secure it, and then I need to clip it off. Now I could use wire cutters, but the problem with that is that it tends to leave a little sharp burr on the end of the cut wire end. So instead I'm going to harden it and break it off. So thumb against where I want it to break, so that's my thumbnail going in where I want it to break. I'm going to pinch that same length of wire a few centimetres away, and I'm going to start to rotate. And as I rotate, I pull, and what I'm doing is I'm working the wire, and it becomes brittle and breaks where it did the most work, which is right against my thumbnail, and that doesn't leave a burr. We do the same with this one. And pinch and twist. You need to twist a few times and off it comes. Right, let's get everything into a good order. Now, at the moment everything's very straight. They don't have to remain straight. We can bend the stems to how we want them to be. So let's add a little bit of movement into our design by bending a few stems. You don't have to bend all of them, you don't have to bend any of them, but I think it's sometimes quite nice just to add a little bit of movement into it, because then it will help to conceal the construction method and make it look a bit more naturalistic. So let's have a little look. I think actually needs to stand upright. Okay, now you can see that's made those leaves a little bit soft, so I'm just going to give them another twist to make sure they stand firm. That's just because they are top hole beads, they're not threaded through the length. Okay, I think I'm quite happy with that. I'll be back to show you how to put the string on to either side.